Last time we stopped off at problem 14, so we are going to look at problem 15 now. Problem 15 says to solve the equation for x. So the first thing I have to do when I'm solving for x is subtract 9 from both sides. So I'm left with y minus 9 is equal to 3/5 x. Now, to move the 3/5 to the other side, I have to multiply by the reciprocal. So I have to multiply both sides by 5/3. Now, the number in front of y is 1. So 5/3 times 1 is 5/3 y. Ooh. Now, we have to multiply 5/3 by -9. That's going to give me -15. So my answer is B. X equals 5/3 y minus 15. 16. Which equation is equivalent to 5x divided by 3 minus 2x divided by 9 equals 8? First thing I have to do is make sure that both of my fractions have the same denominator. They don't, but I can change it, this one, by multiplying 3/3 to make my denominator 9. So 3 times 5 is 15x divided by 9 minus 2x divided by 9. Now, since they both have the same denominator now, I can subtract 15x minus 2x, which is going to give me 13x divided by 9 equals 8. So I just combined my two fractions. From here, I'm going to multiply both sides by 9. So I get 13x is equal to 72. So my final answer is going to be A. Number 17. Which expression represents all values for x for which the inequality is true? First thing I have to realize is both of my fractions have the same denominator, so I can go ahead and combine them. So I'm going to have 2 plus x divided by 3 is greater than 1. Multiply both sides by 3. I get 2 plus x is greater than 3. Subtract 2 from both sides. I get x is greater than 1. So my answer is going to be B. Number 18. It says that they're giving us an equation and they want to know what is M between the two communities. First off, realize that I can go ahead and solve these two problems. So I have M divided by 10 is equal to M divided by 20 plus 0.5. All I did was subtract 5 from 15 and added 5 to 15. Okay, I realized that my denominator 20 is bigger than 10. So to do this, I'm going to multiply both sides by 20 because I want to get rid of those fractions. I don't like fractions. So 20 divided by 10 gives me 2m is equal to 20 divided by 20 is m plus 20 times 1/2 is 10. Subtract m from both sides. I get m is equal to 10. So my answer is C. Number 19. A manager is comparing the cost of buying ball caps with the company emblem from two different companies. Company X charges $50 fee plus 7 per cap, and Company Y charges $30 fee plus $9 per cap. For what number of ball caps will the manager's cost be the same for both companies? Remember, we're looking for the same. So I have to have two equations. Company X is a $50 fee plus $7 per cap. So 7 is going to go in front of x plus 50. Now my second equation is $9 per cap with a $30 fee. From here, because I want to know when they are the same, I'm going to set the equations equal to each other. So I'm going to subtract 7x from both sides, and then subtract 30 from both sides. So those will cancel out, so I'm left with 20 equals 2x. Divide by 2, x equals 10. So my answer is, for 19, is A. Number 20. Which pair of inequalities is shown in the graph? First off, we have to realize, since both of my lines are dotted, all of my inequalities will not have the line underneath. And in my answer choices, all my inequalities does not have the line underneath. So that doesn't really help. First off, I'm going to look at this line. And I know that's a little off. First thing I have to do is state what my y-intercept is. For this equation, my y-intercept is 1. So if I look over in my answer choices, the ones that have a y-intercept of 1 are these. And all 4 of my answers have a plus 1 y-intercept. So now I have to look at the slope. If I pick one point and I pick another point, I realize I go down 1, right 1. So my slope is negative 1 over 1, so that means that it can't be B and it can't be D. So I've narrowed it down to 2 answer choices, A and C. So that means I have to go and look at my next line. So my next line being this one, I'm going to extend my line to where it crosses my y-axis, because I need to know where my y-intercept is going to be. So if I extended my line, I notice that it crosses at negative 5. Well, both A and C say it crosses at negative 5, so now I have to find the slope. If I look, I can see that my slope is going to be positive because it's increasing as it's moving along. So I know there's a point here, and it looks like I have another point right here. So my slope is going to be positive 1 over 1. So if I look, A has a positive 1 over 1, but C has a negative 1 over 1. So my answer is going to be A. 21. Which ordered pair is the solution for the system pictured? The solution is where the 2 lines cross. So my solution is going to be 3, 1, which is A. 22 says that Mr. Tony operates a facility that assembles televisions and computers, and it takes 5 days to assemble the television and 2 days to finish the television. It takes 4 days to assemble the computer and 3 days to finish the computer. There's a maximum of 180 days allowed for the assembly and 135 days for finishing the assembly, or for finishing the product. Which system can be used to represent the situation if X represents the number of televisions and Y represents the number of computers? So television is X, Y is computers. Now, they want the equation for the assembly. So the assembly, it takes 5 days to assemble the television. So that means I'm going to have 5x. And then it takes 4 days to assemble the computer. So I'm going to add 4y. Now it says the maximum is 180 days for assembly. So that means that 180 is going to be the absolute max. But it can equal to 180. Now, if I look, I know my answer can't be A. Well, it can be B. it can be C, and it can be D. So I've already ruled out one answer solution. So let's look at finishing. So it takes 2 days to finish a TV. So I'm going to do 2x, and it takes 100, well not 100, it takes 3 days to finish a computer. But they can only work for 135 days. So 135 is also my max. So if I look at my equations, I know that it can't be C. Well, I know it can't be D either because this one doesn't match that equation. So then my answer choice has to be B. Alright. Number 23. How many solutions would the following system of equations have? Alright, first off I have to realize that x is equal to an equation and y is equal to the equation. So they're not equal to the same thing. So in order to do that, I'm going to set my first equation equal for y. So first thing I have to do is add 3 to both sides. So I'm going to have x plus 3 is equal to 1/2 y. Multiply both sides by 2, so I get 2x plus 6 is equal to y. Now let's look at my second equation, y equals 2x plus 6. If both of your equations are the same thing, then you're going to have an infinite many solutions. Number 24. Which graph shows the correct solution for the inequality? Negative 2x plus 4 is less than 12. I have to solve for x. So first thing, subtract 4 from both sides. I get negative 2x is less than 12. Divide by negative 2. When you divide by a negative number, you have to switch the inequality. So I'm going to have x is greater than negative 6. I'm so sorry, guys. I messed up. When I take 12 and I subtract 4, I actually get 8. So 8 divided by negative 2 is x is greater than negative 4. So my answer choice is going to be B because my inequality does not have the line underneath, so that means it's going to be an open circle. So my answer choice is going to be B. Okay. Which equation corresponds with the graph below? Alright. They're in slope formula, so I'm going to see what my y-intercept is. Negative 2. Well, the only one that has a y-intercept of negative 2 is C. So let's check the slope. If I go, the next point that I know for sure is 2, 2, or 2, 0. But if I go up 2 and over 2, that's 2 divided by 2, which is also 1. So yes, the answer is C. 26. Based on the tables, what common point do the equations share? Well, let's see. Over here, negative 1 for x is equal to 6. But here, negative 1 is equal to 3. Well, so I know it's not that one. 0 is 5. 0 is negative 1. Well, not that point. 1, 4, and 1, 1. 2, 3, 2, 3. Oh, yeah, those are the same. So my answer choice is going to be C. Oh man, I wasn't supposed to go to the next page. Alright, question 27. The first term of the sequence is negative 1. Which function represents the sequence? First off, I have to determine, is this an arithmetic sequence or a geometric sequence? 1 divided by negative 1 is negative 1. 3 divided by 1 is 3. Well, it's not geometric. 1 minus negative 1 gives me 2. 3 minus 1 is 2. 5 minus 3 is 2. 7 minus 5 is 2. So this is an arithmetic sequence. Remember, the formula for arithmetic sequence is a sub n is equal to a sub 1, which in this case is negative 1, plus n minus 1 times my common difference, which is 2. So I have to distribute the 2, so I have negative 1 plus 2n minus 2. Negative 1 minus 2 gives me 2n minus 3. So my answer is D. 28. F of 9 is equal to 4 9 minus 12. Which function gives f of x? Anytime you see 9, you're going to replace that 9 with x. So, for this instance, I'm going to have f of x equals 4 parentheses. I have a 9, so I'm going to put x parentheses minus 12. So my answer choice is C. A farmer owns a horse that can continuously run for an average of 8 miles an hour for up to 7 hours. Let y be the distance the horse can travel for a given x amount of time in hours. The horse's progress can be modeled by which function? Now remember, it says which of the following describes the domain. Domain are your x values. So I know that it can't be D and it can't be B. Now, it says that y is the distance that the horse can travel and x is the amount of time. If we look, our problem says that the horse can continuously run for an average of 8 miles an hour, but only up to 7 hours. So I'm going to have 0 is this less amount of time it can run, but it can only run for up to 7 hours. So my answer is going to be A. Alright, problem 30. It says a population of squirrels doubles every year. Initially there were 5 squirrels. A biologist studying the squirrels created a function to model the population growth, where t is time. The graph of the function is shown. What is the range of the function? Now, one thing you have to think about, we're talking about squirrels. We can't have a half a squirrel, so we know it has to be a whole number. Now, how many squirrels did I start off with? The answer is 5. So because we started off with 5, it can equal to 5. So it can't be B because 0 is less than 5. And number C says that a number that is greater than 5, which means it can't be 5, it has to be greater. So it can't be C, so my answer is going to be D. 31. The function graphed on this coordinate grid models the maximum height of y for a ball dropped in feet after the x bounce. On which bounce was the height of the ball approximately 4 feet. So approximately 4 feet is probably about right here. So I'm going to see where my graph crosses. 2. So my answer is going to be B. To rent a canoe, the cost is $3 for the oars and life preserver, plus $5 an hour for the canoe. Which graph models the cost of renting a canoe? So if I'm renting a canoe, I originally pay $3. So I look for one that starts off at about $3. And that looks like it could be C and it could be D. Because this one starts off at 0. And B starts off at 5. Well, after each hour, I'm paying $5 more. So that means it's increasing by the same amount each time, so it's going to be a linear function. So my answer is going to be C. $33. Juan and Patty decided to see who could read the most books in a month. They began to keep track after Patty read 5 books that month. This graph shows the number of books Patty read for the next 10 days. If Juan's read no books before the 4th day of the month, and he reads at the same rate as Patty, how many books will he have read by day 8? Okay, so it says that because he reads no books until the 4th day, he's going to start off right here. But from here, he reads at the same rate as Patty. So I'm going to increase by the same amount each time. So if we look at our rate of change for Patty, for every point he goes up 1, she goes over 2. Now, if we look, each line is about 2.5 more. So this line is 2.5. This is 5, that's 2.5. So to find the rate of change, I go up 2.5 over 2. So that rate, 2.5 divided by 2 in fraction form, is 5/4. So for my equation, I'm going to write, it's going to be y equals 5/4 x plus b. I don't know what b is because it doesn't tell us that he starts reading until 4 days. So I have to find out what the y-intercept of my line is going to be. And I'm roughly sketching this graph because my lines aren't showing up very well. Okay, so I do know a point. I know 4, 0. So I'm going to plug in my ordered pair of 4, 0 to find out what b is. So I'm going to plug in 0 for y is equal to 5 over 4 times 4 plus b. 5/4 times 4 gives me 5 plus b equals 0. Subtract 5 from both sides, so I get b is equal to negative 5. Now, since I now have my full equation, it wants us to know how many books will he have read by the 8th day. So I'm going to plug in 8 for x. I'm going to have 5 over 4, 8 minus 5, because remember, 5 is b. So 5/4 times 8 gives me 10. 10 minus 5 is 5. So my answer is 5, which in this case is A. 34. The points are on the graph of a function. Which equation represents that function? I'm going to put this as a sequence so it's easier to see. So because I'm increasing at a rate or at a common ratio and not a constant rate, I know this is going to be an exponential function. To figure out if my base of my exponential function, I have to take my second number and divide by my first. So in this case, I'm going to do 4 divided by 1, which is 4. So my answer is going to be C. Okay. Which scatter plot best represents a model of exponential growth? Remember, exponential growth means we are increasing. So I know it can't be C, and scatter plot D doesn't even look like an exponential function. So I know it can't be C, and I know it can't be D. Now, if I graph these, that kind of looks like it's maybe growing linear. But if I connect these points, that looks more exponential. So I'm going to choose A. Problem 36. Which statement is true about the function f of x is equal to 7? Now, if I look at my answer choices, it's talking about even and odd functions. Remember, a constant number I can rewrite as x to the 0th power, and the 0 is an even function. So that means that this function is even. So I know it can't be A, and I know it can't be C. Now, if I plug in an X, a positive X into X, I come out with a positive number. Now, if I plug in a negative number for X, I'll always come out with a positive number. So that means that they'll be the same. So my answer choice is going to be D. 37. For the data below, construct the frequency histogram using 9 classes. Describe the shape of the histogram and the data set, the California pick for the 3 lottery. Now, it wants us to determine if the data is symmetric, uniform, skewed left, or skewed right. Symmetric means if I cut my graph down the middle and fold it in half, it would look the exact same. Does it look the exact same? No. So it can't be A. Uniform means if I put a line like across it, each of these hits the same number. So in this case, it doesn't. So it's not uniform. Skewed left and skewed right means if I draw kind of like a curve along my histogram, then the tail of the curve, or the small point, is going to be the direction of the skewedness. So the tail is this end, and it's on the left. So that means my graph is skewed left. 38. The data below are the final exam scores for 10 randomly selected students and the number of hours they studied for the exam. Determine the linear regression equation that best fits this data. To do this, you have to put your points into a graphing calculator. So the answer to this one is going to be C. You must use a graphing calculator for this problem. 39. Which of the following residual plots illustrate a regression line that would be the best prediction line? Now, I believe on your test, you can see the line. Yes. So I'm just drawing my line on these graphs. Now it asks which one of these lines shows the best line of best fit, which means which of these points are closest to these lines. And the answer is going to be C. Question 40. It says, using the following two-way frequency table, determine which statement below is true. The foreign language enrollment numbers of a Phoenix high school. A says that there are more students enrolled in Spanish than French and German combined. So to find that, I have to take these two totals and add them together. 48 plus 41 gives me 89. So are there more students enrolled in Spanish than in French and German combined? No. There are more females taking Spanish than the total number of students taking German. So the number of females that are taking Spanish is 46. And then the total number of students taking German is 41. So is 46 more than 41? Yes. So the answer is B. Okay. It says, using the frequency table below, out of all the women in the sample, determine the percent of women that live off campus. So the percent of all the women that's in the sample is 7582. But the number of women living off campus is 3758. So I have to take 3758 and divide by 7582, which, if you put that in your calculator, should give you B. 42. It says, which representation of the data below is correct? Well, first off, I'm going to see if I have anyone, I have how many people I have that did scored 4 points. I mean 5 points. 1. Well, we got one person scored 5. How many people scored 8? 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 9, 5, 5. And just keep on checking. If you check, graph A is correct. So let's check graph B, because D says that all the graphs are correct. Well, did anyone score between 0 and 2? No, so it can't be B. And if they're all not correct, it can't be D, but we already said A was correct. So our answer choice is going to be A. 43. The graph on the right shows a scatter plot and the associated linear regression for a sample of 10 students' measures. Using the linear regressional model, predict the height of a person who wears a size 11 shoe. All we're going to do for this is, because the Y is the shoe size, I have to plug in 11 for Y. I'm going to do 11 equals 7.33x minus 33 and solve for x. So I'm going to add 33 to both sides. So I get 44 equals 7.33x. Divide by 7.33. So that you should have gotten that x equals A, 6 feet. (44) What would be the most likely correlation coefficient R for the following scatter plot? Well, if I look, it seems like my data is decreasing. So anytime that my data is decreasing, I'm going to have a negative R. So it can't be A and it can't be B. Now I have to determine, are my points really, really close to my line, or are they scattered everywhere? If they're really, really close to my line, that means my R correlation is going to be close to -1 or +1. So my answer is going to be D. 45. The test scores for 2 students are shown in the table. Make a box plot for the 2 data sets in which student has the higher test scores. For this problem, you can use the graphing calculator again that will create a box plot for you. So once you plug the numbers into the box plot, you should be able to see that student B, or not B, student 2, answer choice B, has the higher test scores. 46. The table shows the admission price for various movie theaters in the Metro Atlanta area, which is the mean absolute deviation. The answer is A. And this is also another problem that you can use your graphing calculators for. But if you don't have a graphing calculator, the way that you find this answer is by first you have to find the mean. So you have to add up all your movie theater prices, which should give you 50, 25, and divide by the number of prices you added together, which is 5, which gave you 10.05. Then you have to find the difference between your mean and the price of the ticket. So the first one is going to be $1.05 plus 2.05, I mean not 2.05, $1.95 plus 30 cents plus $1.80 plus $1.20. And then once you find that total, you're going to divide by 5. So 6.3 divided by 5 gives you $1.26, which is answer choice A. 27. A reading teacher recorded the number of pages read in an hour by each of her students. The numbers are shown below. For this data, which summary statistic is not correct? So if I'm going to put these in order. It looks like my smallest one is 39, then 43, 44, 44, so 43, 44, 44, 45, 49, 49, 50, 51. Alright, the minimum is 39. Yep, that's correct. So that can't be my answer. The median, the number in the middle, is 45. Well, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 numbers. So the number in the middle is 45. So it can't be C. The maximum is 51. Well, that's true, so it can't be D, so my answer is going to be B. 48. The teacher determines the median scores and interquartile range of scores for a test she gave to two different classes. Based on the measures above, which is the only possible range of numbers that could be included in the third quartile for both classes simultaneously? Well, if class 1 has a median score of 70 and an interquartile range of 15, then that means